Showtime. Previously on Dexter. Oh, all right. So apparently Clyde Phillips actually worked on a TV show called Nurse Jackie, and there was one other TV show that I cannot quite remember right now, and I don't think I've heard of it either until Pat Irwin was talking about it. But Pat Irwin was hired as a music composer for Nurse Jackie. So, of course, when Dexter started, and Clyde Phillips was involved in that, they hired Dan Licht. So Dan Licht did the music, and his nephew John did some tracks and everything. And then, after what happened, after the show ended and everything, it came back a couple years later and with New Blood. And so when they brought back New Blood, Clyde Phillips Clyde Phillips having his connection with Pat Irwin, brought Pat Irwin back on, and from what I understand, Pat Irwin submitted a few tracks, and they were rejected. From what I understand, I think it was this project. He talked about it in an interview, but yeah. So he tried out some stuff, and he got a few samples and was like, how can we really kind of redo the music but make it sound more colder and darker and really reflect what's going on. And so Pat Irwin was very good at making an ambiance type dark, cold, chilling sound with like blades and knives and things like that, really capturing a sense of dark emotion. And so when they made this original sin, Pat Irwin came back as a composer and did some additional tracks to the show. But at the same time, they took some of Dan Licht's original songs, and a few of them feel like they've been remixed a little bit. I don't know if they've been remixed or if those were like alternate versions that he made. I don't know, but there's some of Dan Licht's music, and then there's Rolf Kent's opening, and then there's Pat Irwin. So I appreciate this show, Original Sin, really bringing all three music composers together. And, one way or another, even without Dan Licht being here, he's still part of the family in some way. Business and pleasure. All right, so the dude's got the razor blade and. Oh, okay, he's cutting it up and putting it in the water bottle. Huh, I mean, I guess. Oh, I'm thinking, what? Can't you just like drop it in the bottle and won't it dissolve? But yeah, he's a professional. He knows what he's doing, right? And there's his Lunchable. Producer Nick Zayas. Wonder if he's related to Batista's actor David Zayas. I keep saying that. I need to do my research on that. Yeah, man, it's funny watching this again. I think this will be my third time actually watching this episode. Yeah. Okay, so here's the killer right here. So the dude, Captain Spencer, he was just buying stuff from the grocery store. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's a killer or anything. You know what I mean? He's just buying some stuff. Maybe he's just trying to understand something or understand the person who kidnapped his son. Or okay, so he's taking the jersey off. Oh wait. Oh, the kid just said dad. Wait, oh no. Oh no, there's Spencer. Okay, there's confirmation. He's the killer. Well, darn it. I thought they were going to give us another red herring. I guess not. Harry size. It's hard not to write a sigh, at least for me. Every time I write something, I always have a bunch of sighs. Okay, so now, um, yeah, now Harry's like, who is this Geo person? How old is he? Dexter's like 25. She's like, what? She's like, what? 25? Well, Deb, I think at this point it's like 17 or something. Yeah. He taught me how to do it. I mean, if you learn how to hotwire cars, might as well have fun. I mean, in Dexter's logical world. So now, well, I like how Dexter just throws it out there. I think Captain Spencer kidnapped Nikki. You're right. That is crazy. So Dexter is honestly saying what he found. And I like the open and honesty with their relationship right here. And then here's that famous Christian Slater acting. Yeah, when he says that you're like a hammer, and I know you have a darkness, but I didn't know you were gonna project it. Like I wonder what Dexter actually felt in that moment when he said when Harry said that. In your room by the bangles. Oh, it's a beautiful pad. Geo size. Look at that. What the gold satin sheets? Like the most cliche. I'm trying to look around the room and see if they have 90s decor. Oh, there's Deb doing some side feet shots again. Probably like the only. Anyway. Oh, I'm jealous of this line actually. Um, when he says my shirt looks good on you, she's like, you look good on me. That is, I am as a writer, I am jealous. I did not come up with that line first. But yeah, actually, I'm probably the only one who notices stuff like that. I love how they show this side of Deb, and it shows her ear poking out of her hair. I think it's season two, maybe four, but in older in the OG Dexter, Deb's ear would always poke out of her hair. So I love how they kept that detail there. And there's I'll have a swimsuit or a passport. And it's like you don't need anything with me. And right here you see the golden snake. That was a omen to try and warn Deb that who she's dealing with is a snake right now. Oh, here's Dexter meeting with Sophia. Wrap your arm around me. Trying to make Dexter all jealous. Or jealous. Right, so you beat up so and so. I think that was the dude from the first episode he was talking about. He's like, I don't want any beef. Look at her kitten. She kisses all over him. Trying to remind Dexter what he's missing out on. And here's Dexter just not even caring. He really doesn't care. Martino? Wherever Deb is, she doesn't want to be found. She pushed everyone away, even me. Oh, thanks. And now here's this handsome man right here. Who is this person kissing on LaGuerta? Then he walks off. I'm swiping. You know, when you see that kiss, it's like, what? Oh, man. So that guy that was just kissing LaGuerta, that was Miguel. Miguel Prado. Miguel was the main antagonist of season 3 of Dex. Yes, antagonist of season 3 of Dexter. There was always a connection between her and LaGuerta. I believe Miguel's character really represented taking charge of one's life and just taking charge, basically, in control. So the fact that the sense of control does extend from the LaGuerta character, which represents Dexter's sense of authority, would make sense that that Dexter's authority would eventually lead into his sense of overindulgence of having control. But also, Miguel's character represented the third circle of hell. But that's a topic for another time. So this was nice learning about LaGuerta's backstory right here, and I love how it's directed because the way they have this heavy, um, oh, this character died. It's like, oh, and now that someone just died, you could like kind of feel that awkward emotion there, and you can feel how LaGuerta tries to stare away from that, and how Harry is just kind of so like caught up in so many things, and you can see how even by how strange the directing is to LaGuerta's face, you can just see how like that sense of loss or emotional awkwardness or trigger was really like lingering through the conversation, and even though the conversation is changing and evolving, that that tension is still kind of there, like oof, there's something kind of lingering around, elephant in the room kind of thing that everyone's trying to avoid. Now we're in the flashback. There was something I was going to say about Jimenez, about Dexter's previous scene. Oh, when she said whenever Sophia says, I don't know where Deb is, but wherever she's at, she doesn't want to be found. That line kind of stuck with me. Um, yeah. Right now, you can see Dexter playing around in his darkness and really indulging in his darkness, and Deb is kind of indulging in her darkness as well because Dexter's humanity is flirting with darkness right now. So, as you can see, Dexter's humanity flirting with darkness, then you see it in Deb. That Deb falling in the dark side is actually representative of Dexter's humanity falling into the dark side, or being corrupted in some way. So right here, you can actually see how Dexter's actually overindulging in this darkness, and this darkness inside of him is actually growing now more. And now you can see how through Deb's story arc in the scene she was just in. And okay, so yeah, there's the park scene. It reminds me a lot of Breaking Bad scene, but that was the moment that changed it all. Harry should have known better, but he was so emotional. Poor Laura. Yeah. Tense music. I wonder what song's playing. I think this is it. Oh, I love these old computers. Yeah, this like in the original Dexter, Dexter would just type in a person's name, first name and last name, and when he would do that to research somebody, he would get it right, perfect every time. So the fact that now he's younger and he's typing in the name, it takes him a few tries to get it, and I love that small little detail that Dexter is still not who he says he is. Or no, no, I'm sorry, Dexter is still learning and learning how to become his final form. Okay, so Camilla actually just dropped a box of files on in front of Dexter, and she drops some food. So I'm sure, I assume pie. And then she wipes it off the folder, then puts it in her mouth. The I'm sorry, I know a lot of noise right now. So, if you actually looked at some of those names, the name on the very back was Raph Leiden. That was the art director. I believe they had in one of the episodes where Dexter found his first victim shot in the parking lot, there was a mural that was painted. I believe that was the art director who was involved in painting the mural that was in the background during that scene. And I believe episode 2 or 3. Chang Jun is a production secretary, I believe, for Showtime. The next name was Rachel Pedroza. She was a production assistant of the show for the show, and at the very front, you see the name focus in where she spells food, and then she all the other names fade out, and the front file fades in, and you see the name for a split second when she gets the food off of it. That was Matt Sheets. He was the first assistant director for the show. So four of those names, the art director, production secretary, production assistant, and the assistant director of the show. So their names got put in the show as interesting as Easter eggs. And now we are on a boat. I believe it's a boat. Yeah. I remember during an interview, um, Deb's Molly Brown said something along the lines of the difference between a boat and a yacht. And she says it had to do with the one, I think it has to be a certain amount of feet long before it can be considered a yacht. So I think she said that this was technically considered a boat because it didn't qualify for the right measurements. Yeah. But yeah, apparently this was a real boat that they were on. Yeah, these external shots are beautiful in the show. I love them. I love the gloomy weather, or it could be the filter right here. Oh, quiet, tense music. We now have LaGuerta and our boy, Harry. Yeah, whenever there was a crime scene at a house, they just kind of stuck a paper in there and called it done. I don't know if they still do that or not. Right here in this scene, when Dexter pulls up in the truck, when he's telling Spencer, you can see a quick drug deal happen right at the end of the alley. You can see these two guys do a very quick drug deal as Dexter's pulling off, and they quickly break away. I would think that's a Ford. It looks like a Ford. The green car. I apologize. I apologize for not having the names of each of these vehicles. That's a Crown Vic? Wow, I know it was a Crown Victoria. Um, I apologize for not knowing all the names of these older vehicles. I originally was supposed to do my research on all of the vehicles on the show and yeah, tell everyone what the vehicles were during my commentaries, but I just haven't had the right time to do it. This show, I love the omens. So Dexter had to choose left or right, and he chose the bag instead of tailing Spencer. I probably would have done the same thing too, ironically, but like, I wonder what would have happened if he chose. So I love that the gnome here is just like with the snake. Um, this is also an omen that's trying to tell Dexter, go check it out. So where Deb had the bad omen of the snake, Dexter has the good omen here. So yeah, the car that Spencer was driving is a Crown Victoria. That was a standard model car vehicle for police cars for the olden days. Now it's like a Charger or something. I believe Chargers. Car phones. They were a thing. Now we got Bluetooth. Just doesn't hit the same though. Having a landline or in your car versus just Bluetooth, this just doesn't hit the same. If you look up wherever we're right. I'm sorry. This thing that Dexter is on right now is called the payphone. They would have these payphones throughout the city, downtown, just wherever throughout the city, side of the road. Sometimes weird places where where people normally wouldn't be, but they had these phone. Sometimes they had phone booths, so you can go inside for privacy, and they had phone books in there. So you would actually open up the phone book, and everyone in the city would be registered in these phone books, as well as their numbers and their addresses. So if you had someone's first and last name, you would just look them up in the book, and you could find their name and find out the numbers. You can just keep calling the numbers until eventually you found the person that you needed to find. Society worked that way for a while. It worked out, but then things got bad and stalkers, and then things changed. But yeah, so those were phone booths, but I think phone. I think I think phone booths had those. Anyway, so Dexter right now is yeah, they're both phone booths. Anyway, so Dexter was at one of these, and you would have to put change in, and if you put change in the slot machine, the thing, you put like a few cents in there, and you would have a certain amount of time to talk with whoever it is that you called. So yeah. Then once you're at your last minute, then the operator of the phone would be like, "You have 1 minute. Please put in more change to get more minutes to talk." There was a little panel. Apparently, there's a panel in the front, and if you knew how to break it open, there's a little square panel, metal thing. Apparently, if you knew how to break that, you could steal the change out of it. But people were kind of respectful back then. There was an old commercial in like the '90s. It was this comedian, and he would always be like CALLATT, and it was a little call collect commercial, and this comedian always did a bunch of collect call commercials with phone booths. Also on the wall, I know I'm way behind now, but there was a wall that showed a coffee cup, and it says 55 cents. That weird symbol with the C, that's a cent sign. Everything nowadays is so expensive that it's all dollar signs, but before the dollar signs, there are cents. And back then, a lot of things were a few cents, not just dollars. So things were really cheap back then. You could get a whole lunch, a whole large soda, a whole large steak, fries, and it would all come up to like $3, you know. I just passed the crime scene, and now we see Laura Moser's fingernails being painted different colors. So now this actually goes into the lore of Dexter, where she's so happy with her kids and everything. This was the last happy moment that, they shared with their mom. This was the last happy moment, and it sticks with them. In the original series, when all the hookers were being killed, um, their fingers were found, or one finger was found in the block of ice, and each one of her fingernails was painted a different color. And they never really explained too much as to why that was. So now this scene actually explains that's why you know, the the killer, the ice truck killer, the prostitutes had different colored fingernails. It was more like a happy moment, frozen in time. Yeah, symbolism of ice. Right here, Deb is introduced to Geo's crew, his boys, the life. Get Deb knocking them back. Interesting camera angles. It's always nice seeing a camera angle that goes back to where it originally was. I really admire this show for a lot of these camera movements that they do. That there's some camera movements that I don't think I've quite seen before. That are in the show, and I like that. I appreciate that. So I don't know if they've had drones or anything like that for some of these shots. It still gets me the way these people dress in the backgrounds. I love the way they dress in the background. He's like, don't worry about that. It's just business. I got something for you. Boom. Diamonds. Reek. I love the way these background characters are dressed. I wish I could give you more. Oh, she loves him. I wish I could give you more. There's this woman that's standing in between Deb and Geo, and she's wearing like this bikini, this tan bikini. And she definitely did something to get in that shot perfectly because she's really standing out in the scene. I can't tell you the backstory of how she got noticed or how she got that role to get that shot in that camera shot, but yeah, she definitely stands out. Um, yeah, wish I could tell you her name. I'm sorry. And now here's Dexter talking with Dexter. He looks like a straight sociopath or psychopath right here. This is Dexter talking to Gio's fiance. What? Ariana. Ah, those glasses with the ice and the wine. I want one of them so bad, just for my sweet tea, which I should be drinking right now. Where is my wine glass? There it is. It's collecting dust and bacteria, germs. So yeah, Dexter asks Ariana if he could use her phone, and she says, "Call China for all I care." He pays the bills. Yeah, when you made international calls or when you called, out of state or especially out of country, you would have to pay a lot for those for just to talk for a short amount of time. So yeah, Dexter has to borrow her phone because cell phones didn't exist back then in these days. They did, but they were like these huge things, and I'm not exactly sure what happened to them. That was before my time, but there were cell phones back then that were just like these big computer-like things, and I guess they were just kind of too big to really carry around. It just was like, we're gonna eliminate this from history, from our society. I really hope I'm still recording. Yeah, it's still going. Sure, it's on sync. 30, 52, 55, 8. You're close enough on sync. All right, so these two detectives that were working with Harry and LaGuerta, I had a theory that these two detectives may have been the FBI agents that worked with Quinn in season 5 of Dexter and a little bit of season 6. But I was trying to do a little bit of research on the characters and ended up getting busy, so I couldn't fully thoroughly do the research on who these characters were. Um, but I suspect that maybe they may have been some characters that Quinn worked with in OG Dexter. I could be wrong though. Then yeah, here's Harry. Yeah, checking the file first. Why didn't he just take the file first before, why didn't he just sneak it in his bag real quick? Oh, wait, then that was his birthday, March 26th? Oh, that would make him Pisces? No, whatever's after Pisces. Yeah, there's a lot of male or sexual harassment in the workforce. So yeah, Harry is just looking at the file right now, seeing what's in it, seeing if there's anything in connection to Dexter or the victims or anything like that. Like, yeah, he could have just taken the file and been safe, but you know, there is honesty to Harry. There is, he's not just gonna. He's gonna look at the case file first to see what's in it, to see if it's necessary for him to take it. I'm gonna assume. So it would be smart to look at the file first and see what's in it, see if there's anything suspicious before doing something drastic that could potentially get him caught or get him in trouble later on. So yeah, looking at the file first. And there's the address equaling out to number 10, which equals a 10th. Yeah. Which this is the 10th season of Dexter. This is a really well made stage, if this is a stage, versus if it's a real home. I want to say this was probably a stage because of the ceiling. I just got a quick glimpse of the ceiling. So now they're in the shipping container. I often wondered who the other characters were because in the OG Dexter, if you did look carefully at the scene, you knew that there were other characters in the shipping container. And there was blood all over the floor, and Laura was talking to her kids and holding her kids, as there was blood soaked all over the ground, which means that much amount of blood means that there had to have been more individuals in there. All that blood couldn't have come from one person. The other individuals probably didn't pay, which is why they were in there. They didn't do what they were supposed to. They didn't pay the money that they were supposed to get imported. I know that sounds very stereotypical, but in situations like this, in this period, in this kind of, it's usually what that was usually involved, what that usually entailed. There was a lot of immigration in Florida, a lot. This scene right here, the boat right here, actually is kind of I don't know if I could say foreshadow, but it's sort of an Easter egg. It's an Easter egg for when Deb was in the boat with Rudy in the first season of Dexter. She was underground in a boat in this room when her and her boyfriend Rudy were, oh, we're bonding, we're having a great time, and then he changes on her and freaks her out and turns dark on her, and the bad things happened to Deb. So this was a foreshadow of that space in that room where Deb is in peril and Deb is at like a state of danger basically. And in this scene, when she's in there, she's able to get out this time. But in the OG Dexter, she didn't. But yeah, interesting reference. Oh no, Dexter finds her. Luckily, Deb chooses to get away from that life, get away from that bad stuff. And she remembers that she's a good person. She's not about that life. And yeah, so now Dexter found his humanity again and hugs her. Oh, now they can take the boat together and leave. It's a beautiful boat. I wonder what that's like, just driving out in the middle of the ocean. Yes, this is the first time that Dexter and Deb were on the boat together. And then she throws she throws the neck or the bracelet in the water. she's like she's like, "Ooh, I could have pawned that." Yeah, that's what everyone in the audience was thinking. I bet you that was unscripted. I bet she did that. She said that. She's like, "That's what I'm thinking. I could have pawned that." Yep. So here on the boat, they're just letting everything out, letting everything, just letting everything go, just talking it through, being open, being honest. There is that emotion that's, in this scene, which is very much about letting go, and finding revelation in the boat. That's the thing that happens a lot with Dexter and Lumen, with Dexter and partially Hannah, with Dexter and Isaac Circle. Yeah. Here's Dexter yelling. It's interesting. Mellow, tangy music. You want to rent a Blockbuster? Yeah, as I've said before, back then with movies, you would go to Blockbuster or rent a movie and rent it for about 2 or 3 days or so, and then afterward return it. Movies were called, blockbusters back then, which I think was also a type of dynamite too, or explosive. Because I think dynamite is a type of explosive as well as like TNT, and I think blockbuster is a type of explosive. So now Dexter leaves, and poor Deb is here, and she sees her mom's empty chair, and she sits down and she tries to connect, and she doesn't know what to do, and she feels so lost. And Deb, no, Deb does a lot of crying in this show, and I like how they do the zoom out and they like fade, and it fades just like in the first season, in the first episode of the show, when Dexter was first born. I'm not entirely sure what the artistic symbolism of that is, of the drawback with the camera, but yeah, I honestly think that it means birth, but that's my assumption. Yeah, right here you got the SWAT team all suited up. You got the boots. I love how I know I want to give all the credit to Clyde Phillips, but I love how the producers handled this scene with the cops, with the SWAT. So you see the sirens going, you see the vehicles going. As expensive as all of this is, and boom, I love that transition shot. I'm glad the transition shot didn't try to be flashy. It was just flashy enough to get the point across. And there's the gnome that was trying to warn Dexter, the omen. 117A. Yeah, this was a wild scene. When you get a SWAT team, you make them work. Yeah, I believe there was a choreographer. Um, yeah. So yeah. Sorry, well, I'm looking at just how realistic, how just the way the SWAT team came in and how these people are dressed, their activities, what they were doing. They're probably just chilling, didn't expect any of this to happen. These dudes are probably just acting, just trying to, fit the role, play the game or whatever, and not knowing what's about to happen, not knowing what was actually planned, that, they all needed to be taken out because they're just low life drug dealers. They don't deserve to live, according to his philosophy, probably in his mind. So he doesn't mind shooting these people and killing these people and getting them off the street, while at the same time, you know, getting away with it. Yeah, once the gunfire started, it didn't feel like a fake shootout or like a movie shootout. It just felt like, whoa, really, this is happening? This girl who's half dressed, her weapon Her firearm is an Uzi. In case anyone wants to know, sounds pretty. Oh, they got her. Um, yeah, the way Bobby gets shot, that quick flash, you see his face and you see the shot. Yeah, it's like that. It'd be like that. That squad car that was behind Dexter when they first got in here, 117A is Section 117A was a police act in 1997. Surprisingly, it was the United Kingdom legislation for a national crime squad. Yeah, and this scene was actually very painful. After you see the debris of all of this is what makes Spencer just willingly gives up his gun. This scene actually hit really hard because after you see the shots, oh, the guns. I believe the guns were when you press the button, the trigger, it released a flash, but no bullets actually came out. So when I did the choreography of this fight scene, it was very well thought out, very well trained people, and it was very crazy scene. It was a wild scene. I don't know how long it took for them to film it, but it was. They said it was a wild time. It was a good time. This scene felt like it was very hard to pull off because I'm gonna come back to this, but right here, when you see LaGuerta reach for the file, she starts reading the file. This is one of those scenes that you have to plant to where she's like, Moser, why is, who's Brian Moser? It's like, wait a minute, how much did LaGuerta actually know when it came to the first season? It now makes you wonder, makes you want to rewatch the first season again because you're just like, is there a plot hole here? Like, how much did LaGuerta know? Was she suspicious the whole time? And it does create sort of that motivation to want to see it. And here's LaGuerta. Not sure how to feel about this whole thing. The thing about I'm actually kind of glad that they split this scene up, but I'm glad they jumped right back to it. But this scene was a little painful to watch simply because you see you see this the way the cops are moving, you know what just happened. Dexter's putting things together. You see Spencer, it's just the fact that there is a strong, powerful presence of evil. It's like being introduced to a new side or having a new understanding to what evil actually is. And just being a witness to that, to what that looks like, to seeing that there was a bunch of people here that were just killed, that were murdered, who were just living their lives and got killed, got shot, and someone good got shot. And it's just like witnessing all of this, witnessing this darkness and this evil. It's like, wow, being a director or an editor, it's hard to do that, to really capture what evil actually is and to capture moments like that feel authentic and real. And this scene did it very, very well. They did it very, very well. And here's Laura. She's trying to go back into her fake persona. Why am I here? He's like, oh, don't upset me. You, Sergeant Morgan, the kids. One big happy family. Oh, they have their chainsaw. But the sins of the mother and all that. Yeah, unfortunately, if there was a situation like this, fear isn't always the best thing. You can be scared, you can be afraid, and you can beg for your life, in situations like this. But, sometimes the best thing to do is to fight. If someone's got you in the situation like this, do whatever you can. Uh, hurt the other person to try and survive, but don't just submit to being killed like that. I know that's a weird thing to say, but like there were a few people in there. There was three of them. Maybe they wouldn't have really had a chance to, fight back or survive against these three dudes, and one with a chainsaw, and one dude was, had some muscle on him, but you know, just being scared doesn't get anyone anywhere. So, being in a situation where it's life or death, don't always expect people to take pity on you and just if they want to kill you, if they really want to see you dead, don't submit to that. But fight for your life. Showtime. Thanks for listening to my commentary.